So you are able to see the board, right? Okay. So we will start our this one. So now I see. So if you quickly recaps, I think I think yesterday class I have not taken because of some meetings. Okay, but the Monday's class, if you see, we have already started energy methods. Okay, so so energy methods we have seen there are two things are there. One is you write the expression for energy. So you assume some deformation or some stability, these things, and then the like eigenvector. You assume some eigenvector, then you can get the load actually. Okay, so the eigenvalue or something like that. Now I know the calculus of variations also we have seen actually. Okay, so where so in the variational calculus, say we are interested in obtaining the equation of motion as well as you see the boundary conditions. Okay, so we have seen how to obtain the this equation of motion also from variational calculus. So many times your force method, say that is free body diagram, then finding out the forces and other things is little bit complex actual, but variational calculus is very easy because no sign convention. You see, you just write in terms of energies, and then you do this variation, that is delta phi is equal to 0 or something. So automatically you will get equation of motion. Another thing is it also gives you the natural boundary conditions. Okay, so if there are any boundary conditions regarding shear force, bending moment kind of a thing, so this variation calculus automatically gives that also. But you have, but before doing that one, see whatever y bars, whatever you are going to assume, you have to select such that it satisfies this the geometric boundary conditions actually. Okay, so this you have to enforce before you start your variational calculus, and then natural boundary conditions automatically your variational calculus comes. Okay, and then I think we are now, so this energy methods gives rise to a lot of approximate methods actually. Okay, so several approximate methods can be derived from this variational calculus: Rayleigh-Ridge method, Galerkin method, a Rayleigh coefficient method. So many methods are there, but the basic philosophy is the same. So what we do is you assume some the function, assume some buckling shape actually. Okay, or modes, you can take the help of your strength of materials theory. You can write in terms of polynomials or Fourier series, or whatever you do. And then but only thing is this buckling shape should satisfy the geometry boundary condition, so that has to be ensured. Then you solve it, and then you see you get your answer itself. Okay, and now let us see one more examples of this self buckling actually. Okay, so this already we saw previously. So you have a cantilever, so distributed load. Okay, so this problem we have already seen actually previously, q times l kind of a thing, the self buckling, say. So q into l, this problem already we have seen that the solution you see turns out to be in terms of this Bessel functions actually. I'm sorry, so this is y, this is x. So if l is this length of this cantilever, say. Okay, already we have derived the solution previously by force method kind of a thing. Now by energy method, say some approximate thing can be derived at. So if this is delta. Okay, so now so if you take any section, say. Okay, so at a distance x from this origin. So origin is in the downside. Okay, so now this is your centroidal coordinates actually. So if you denote the centroidal coordinate as some eta, and then this is psi, say. Okay, the centroid of this portion. So eta and psi are centroidal coordinates actually. Okay, so centroidal coordinates, say. So already we have discussed previously, we have written our equation of the motion itself. Now here if you want to solve this by energy method, say. So the it will have only the bending energy m square you followed, right? That expression also we know. So now the bending moment expression if you write, say. So already at a section m. Okay, so if you take this section mn actually. Okay, so at this point so the bending moment already we wrote previously at the section mn. So if you write in terms of centroidal coordinates also we have seen. So eta minus y into d psi. I think previously we used that Greenhill's formula, say. The notation was slightly different. In the Greenhill's formula, he takes origin at the free surface actually, and the notation was x bar y bar was taken to be centroidal coordinates. Now our origin is at the bottom. Okay, so 0 comma 0 is here. Just instead of x bar y bar, so we are using eta I is centroidal axis. But if you it is up to you. You can take this as origin, this as origin. You have some advantages actually. Okay, but both are more or less same kind of a thing. Okay. And now, if you want to solve by this energy method, say that is the Rayleigh-Ridge, method actually, essentially. So now, of course, there are several methods are there. So Rayleigh-Ridge method, say. Okay. So now you see you have to assume some, the displacement. Okay, the deflection in the profile you have to see here. Now, please tell me. Which one?
So eta is the x coordinate.
Just 1 second. No. What is it? Eta?
So that is the x coordinate in the centroidal. But we are subtracting from the y.
No, eta minus y, right? So this is y. So I'm writing the bending moment at this section Mn. Okay. So this becomes. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. This already we wrote, right? Previously when the force method, same thing, only expression. So now in the energy methods, now we have to assume this deflection profile actually, or the buckling mode. Okay. So this you have to assume. Now for this problem, so what is the buckling mode shape? How would the this cantilever is going to buckle? Now, what type of shapes you can assume actually for this cantilever? So previously, when we solved by the force method, what was the buckling mode shapes? There we wrote in terms of what type of functions we used. We didn't, when you solved the self-buckling kind of a thing, you did get sine or cos actually. We got the solution. You see in terms of the Bessel functions. You remember, right? And that Bessel function was also order 1 by 3 kind of a thing we had actually, some k or something like that. So this was a buckling mode shape. Okay. So now in this problem, say, so now instead of this buckling mode shape, this Bessel function, since it is complicated, so now you can see it's just a buckling mode shape of a cantilever. You can get from like just if it's a concentrated load actually. Okay. So now already the buckling mode shape. You see, we can write in terms of so this delta into some 1 minus cos pi psi by 2l. So we assume the buckling mode shape in terms of the cos and sine itself, just as a initial guess kind of a thing. Okay, instead of the exact thing is you have to write in terms of Bessel functions. Okay, but now Bessel function things are complicated. You see, we are looking for some easy kind of a thing. So this, if we see 1 minus cos pi by 2l, it satisfies the geometric boundary conditions like slope is 0, deflection is 0, and here bending moment is 0, that shear force is 0 kind of a thing. And this comes from directly your for a cantilever actually. Okay, so now we assume that the buckling mode shape is like this, the centroidal as well as the y itself. Okay, so now we substitute, say, and calculate your bending moment. So m is equal to some q x to l eta minus y into d psi kind of a thing. So this becomes, so q into so you can just see eta into d psi minus y into l minus x kind of a thing. Okay, so now this integral, say, so eta d psi can be easily you can calculate using your this trigonometric things. So 1 minus cos pi psi, say, by 2l into d psi kind of a thing. So you evaluate this integral. Okay, so automatically we get as delta into l minus x kind of a thing minus 2l by pi 1 minus sine pi x by 2l. So this is the integral which comes actual. Okay, so now you substitute, say, in your expression for this bending moment, so m becomes so substitute this expression in this equation. So m becomes q into delta l minus x minus 2l by pi 1 minus sine pi x by 2l. Okay, and 1 minus cos, say, pi x by 2l into L minus X. Okay, so we write like this. So this also we are assuming. So now your Y is also, so eta is a delta. So your Y, this is your centroidal thing. So and your Y also you can write, you followed it, 1 minus cos pi x by using 2L kind of a thing actually. Okay, so these are the assumptions actually. Okay, both your the centroidal thing and your Y's, of course both of them have to be same. So if you assume to be the mode shape, say, so now you substitute in this expression, so you will get your bending moment. Okay, so after some simplification, say, you can write as q into delta, so L minus x cos say pi x by 2L minus say 2L by pi, say. Okay, so 1 minus sine pi x by 2L. So this is your bending moment actually. Okay, you are assuming the centroid and your y, say, in terms of some cos function. So now you calculate this energy. So 1 by 2 EI, the bending energy. So 0 to, you see, L m square dx actually. Now you have to do some little bit algebra. See, now you have to square this function and then you have to find out the integral. So there is a little bit algebraic things are required, but in MATLABs or Maple softwares where you have a symbolic computation or symbolic tools are there even in MATLAB itself. So you can do it very easily actually. Okay, so this turns out to be del square q square L cube minus say 192 plus some 54 times pi plus pi cube by, you see, so 12 EI pi cube actually. So this is our final expression actually, the bending strain energy. And now you have to find out the work done by the load also. Okay, and now what is the work done by the load? See, previously when you remember, we had only a concentrated load actually. So now if the load is like this, say P, so previously we derived, right, some P by 2 into, you followed, right, dy by dx, that square kind of a thing we have to write. But now here, our load is, you see, a distributed load actually. It is not, a concentrated load kind of a thing. So now here, so the load also has to be, if you at a section, if you take at a section Mn, okay. So if you want to calculate the work done by this load, say, okay, so this becomes, you see, half, so q into L minus x dy by, you see, dx whole square into dx actually. Okay, so by above the section, so work done by the, the distributed load above the section Mn. Okay, so now the total work done, say, so this also becomes, you see, integral kind of a thing. So this is the only thing because the load is a distributed load actually. So this becomes a half q 0 to L, so L minus x, so dy by dx whole square into dx actually. Okay, so now you substitute, say, your y and all other expressions. Okay, so now it becomes half is q into del square 0 to L, so L minus x. Now, so pi by, you see, 2L kind of a thing. So sine pi x by 2L whole square dx. Okay, so this is the expression. So now you do the integrals, in a closed form solution. Let's see, if you try to write in MATLAB in a symbolic toolbox, automatically you will get the answer. So del square q, say, by 32 pi square minus 4 actually. So this is your work done by the load. So now by the virtue of our energy principle, say, so we write, you followed, right? So dou u by, so del phi kind of a thing. So now here what is the variable? So now here we have assumed that your eta is equal to this, y is equal to this. So this is we have assumed actually. So for any arbitrary delta, say, okay, so this has to be this one. So now so when you do this, so the derivative of dou u with respect to dou delta, say, and your dou v by dou delta, this has to be equated to 0 actual. So now you differentiate this and then you solve this, so you differentiate and solve for, you see, this is q, say, okay. So you will get finally q is equal to, pi square minus 4 by 16, some 6 EI. Now pi cube by, you see, after doing all those, 192 plus, you see, 54 pi plus pi cube into L cube. Finally, if you are rearrange all those, cancelling everything, so this turns out to be 7.888 EI by, you see, L cube actually. So this is the buckling, the load actually, okay, for self, the distributed, the self buckling load. Now if you compare this with the exact solutions, previously, we have got the exact solution itself. Can anybody remember? the exact solution. I think previous 2-3 classes before we got the exact solution where we solved this in terms of the Bessel function, that is exact values. So if you compare this solution with the exact this one say, so you can see there is a minor change kind of a thing we have, and the error is some 0.65% only. You followed with exact solution. So now you can see 0.65% in civil engineering, it's nothing actually. Okay, so almost it is like a exact solution you see we have got. But previously to get the exact solution, say you have to write in terms of Bessel functions, so many things, and then you see we solved. But now in the energy method, say it's a very very easy kind of a thing, you assume. But only thing here is the starting assumption, so that assumption for this that buckling mode shape, this has to be close to the exact thing. So if you assume very close to the exact solution, you see, so your answers also will be you followed, right? Even almost exact kind of a thing you have. Now the same problem, say if you take two functions in the Fourier series actually. See, now we have written as cos pi you followed, right, by 2l kind of a thing. Now let us say you take another component also. So another some 3 pi psi by 2l kind of a thing. So we have added one more extra term actually, and then you solve the same problem, say, okay, from centroid and all those things if you assume. So now in this problem, you see, if you do all those mathematical calculations, so your QCR actually, okay, so this turns out to be 7.888 EI by L cube itself actually, if you add extra term also. So now with one term, we already got 7.888 EI by L cube. So if you add more number of terms also for this special problem, you see, there is no change actually. You followed. So the adding more terms, is there? It is not going to change your solution itself. So sometimes, in energy methods, we think that if you add more number of terms, your answer will be, the error can be decreased. But it doesn't happen actually in many cases. Okay, so some cases you followed, right, with one term may give by adding more number of terms, you see, you may not be able to decrease this error itself actually. Okay, so please, so this is one you can just try actually. So like you can even add you see, so 1 minus cos 5 pi psi say by L also you can try, and you can see by adding more number of terms also, the error cannot be made to 0% kind of a thing in the same methods. Okay, so this is how we can solve this by energy methods, this very complicated problem, this expression. Okay. And now so you can also solve this problem also. So I leave it to you as an exercise, you try. Okay, so you have a cantilever, say, okay, of course it is subjected to distributed load, already we have solved. Now let us, on the top of it, it also has a load P. Okay, so now how do you calculate the buckling load here? So this is a more realistic problem. See, when you are doing design, say, so when you have done designing, so the column has to first, its own dead load actual. Okay, so that self buckling also has to be considered, plus the load which it has to carry actually. Okay, so now this problem, say, all of you can try. It is like a followed, right, assignment. I will send you also in the sheet. So where you have, you see, two loads actually, P as well as Q actual. Now you find out the buckling load. And now this problem, say, how do you solve this type of a problem? If you want to solve this problem by, you see, the force method, that is a method which we discussed previously, the problem becomes the differential equation, the solution becomes, you see, you can solve, but it is lately complicated kind of a thing. But by energy method, it is very very, you followed, right, easy kind of a thing. So you please solve actually. Okay, so this problem, so this is a very very interesting problem. See, like for example, if Q tends to 0, say, you can check whether your answer is correct or not also. So when Q tends to 0, say, this problem should boil down to the same cantilever buckling problem which we discussed long back, or which you have studied in your strength of materials itself. Okay, and now this ratio, say, P to Q, you can establish, and you can get some nice you followed, right, the solutions for this type of a problem, and which is more realistic actually. Okay, so only thing when you solve this problem, you have to have this strain energy, say, you will get component from Q also, plus you also get component from this load P also. Okay, and even when you try to calculate this work done by the external work, say, you have component from Q, which is same what we said previously. Then you also will have component for P also. Then you do this, the maximum minimization or something, and then you can get some nice, you see the solutions actual. Okay. So now the solution here, whatever you get some equations, it will be a function of, P and Q also. Okay. So this will be equal to 0. So you can try. So this is a very, very, the interesting problem actual. Okay. So you please try this as a assignment. Okay. So fine. So now before, one more interesting thing we will just see. This problem is also beams on elastic foundation. So we have discussed previously. Okay. So now let us see this interesting problem. Okay. By energy methods. So already we got the solution, but there the springs was continuous kind of a thing. Okay. So now let us see this also as a problem. I think pipelines I told you, right? So now you have a beam columns or column itself. Okay. So something like this. So now I just assume that some two springs I am putting here. Okay. So now I see that this is a P, this is a P kind of a thing. So now you have a K1 and the K2 kind of a thing. So if you take your origin, say X is this direction and Y is you follow this direction. Okay. So now so you can so these are the numbers. So now K1, K2, say for simplicity we have to assume say K1 is equal to K2 is equal to K. Then your X1, that is this distance. Okay. So if you take this as L by 3 kind of a thing, and this distance is say is 2L by 3. Okay. And now of course the total span is L itself. Okay. So this is also L by 3 kind of a thing. Now what will be the buckling load actual? Okay. For this beam column resting on springs. Okay. Or column resting on elastic supports kind of a thing. Okay. Now how to solve this by energy methods? So now as already I told you, you have to just you follow right the strain energy and so this itself you have. So now here the energy you followed right we will get from the bending. Then you have this work done by this external load also. Then energy you see it also will have component from this springs itself. So just straightforward. Okay. So EI by 2 say. Okay. So 0 to L y double dash whole square dx kind of a thing minus of course this is work done by the load. So 0 to L y dash. Okay. Square into dx plus only thing is here you are having springs actual. Okay. So you write half I is equal to 1 to n. So if the n is the number of springs here, now in this problem say n is equal to 2 itself actual. So this is the energy you see from the springs. Okay. And now we have to solve this problem. So now if you assume k1 is equal to k2 both are same and x1 this L by 3 2L by 3 kind of a thing. So now and if you want to solve energy method, so now you have to assume this buckling mode shape. Now tell me what is the buckling mode shape you are going to assume here. Now so this is the most important key. What is the buckling mode shape? Tell me.
Sine 3 pi x by L.
No, if you take sine 3 pi x by L, that is which mode? See, sine 3 pi x
Third
by
mode.
L, third mode means you will have you followed right like this kind of a thing. And now, but this column will buckle in third mode.
Sir, first mode.
Somebody says first mode. So one person told third mode. Why not second mode, right? See, second mode means you followed right. It will be like this actually. This is a second mode you followed. Then the first mode means you see something like this. Or you followed right. The column can buckle like this also. Third mode itself. And now suppose if springs were not there, say definitely it will buckle in first mode only. Okay, sine pi x by L you can see. Now since there are two springs are there, say like some of you told third mode sine 3 pi x by also will be there. Now which one we have to take here? Yeah.
We can take a combination of those terms.
Yes. No. Please remember when we solved this elastic foundation problem previous class. Okay, that is a 3-4 classes previously. What was important observation we made? See, one very important thing came out. When we discussed this beams on elastic foundation. You remember I gave the example of Indian plate. You remember? Tell me. Which mode it will buckle? Beam on elastic foundation. First mode,
So
second
that
mode.
depended
Ah,
on the modulus from the ground.
yes, yes, yes. Excellent. You see. So now depending on the k, suppose if k is very, suppose k1, k2 are almost close to 0, then it will buckle in first mode itself actually. Suppose if k1, k2 are rigid, say, that is infinity kind of a thing, definitely it is going to buckle in third mode itself actually. You followed? So if k1, k2 are infinity, what happens? This portion itself becomes one column actually. You followed? So then this becomes like, a column with, you followed it, simply supported here. So this becomes like a fixed end actual, and this portion becomes like, fixed column. Now this becomes, fixed, and then the roller condition kind of a thing. So your buckling mode depends on your k1, k2. This, so this was a most important thing which you assumed actually. So now in this problem, say what we try to do is, so it can buckle in first mode, it can buckle in second mode, or it can buckle in third mode also, because your k1, k2 are the one which controls, your mode shape actual. So intelligent guess here will be, you see, we will take a combination actual of all the mode shapes. So we write, you see, a sine pi x by l. So this is the first mode actual. Then the second mode shape also may happen, variety of this also. So a sine 2 pi x by l, and of course third mode shape also it can buckle actually. So a sine 3 pi x by l. Okay. Now why we have taken sine? The reason was because both the ends are simply supported kind of a thing. So sine pi x by l or sine 2 pi x by l or sine 3 pi x by l, it satisfies your geometric boundary conditions actually. Okay. So this you have to ensure when you assume this this function. So it has to satisfy the boundary conditions, like you say bending moment is 0 at x is equal to 0, deflection is 0, and of course at x is equal to l itself. So this you have to ensure actually. Okay. And now you substitute. So now what is energy? So now you substitute your y say in this energy expression. Okay. So now you have to do 2 times derivative, you followed, right? A little bit of algebra is involved actually. Okay. But as already I told you, the integrals with respect to sine and cos, they are very easy, you followed, right? Last class also, please do this, remember. So 0 to l, if you take sine I pi x by l, say, and sine j pi x by l. Okay. So if you take two sines, and now when I is not equal to j, say, what is the value of this integral? See, like sine pi x by l multiplied by sine 2 pi x by l, integral 0 to l. What is the value of that integral? No,
0.
0, because of the orthogonal property. Okay. Now when I is equal to j, that means in a sine square pi x by l we have. What is the value?
L by 2.
L by 2. Okay. So this, when you are writing exams, because you may not be using your computer or something. So now just remember this property. And same thing is valid even for cos also. You followed it because of this orthogonality property. Okay. So sine and cos has this property. So it is very useful for you when you are solving, you see, these type of integrals actually. Okay. So it is, please remember this one. So now you can use that and you can solve all those things. So finally the energy say, okay. So this turns out to be, you see, EI pi cube, say, by 4 L cube. So A1 square plus 16 A2 square plus 81 A3 square. Okay. So minus P pi square by 4 L A1 square plus say 4 A2 square plus 9 A3 square. Okay. So plus some 3 by 4 times k a1 square plus a2 square actually. So you get nice the expressions like this. Okay. So now to find out our buckling loads, say, so now we have to do dou pi by dou a1 is equal to 0, then dou pi by dou a2 is equal to 0, and then dou pi by dou a3 is equal to 0 actually. So you have to make all this the derivatives you have to do, and finally you can write this in a nice the matrix format kind of a thing. So ei pi to the power of 4 say by l cube minus p pi square by l plus 3k 0 0, and you have 0 here. So 4 ei pi to the power of 4 by l cube minus say p pi square, say, l plus 3 by 4 times k 0 actually. Now 0 0 Then you have is 9 EI pi square by L cube minus is P by L. So you have a nice matrix format. Okay. So A1, A2, A3. So A1, A2, A3. So your right hand side is 0 comma 0 comma 0. So nicely you see you get like this. So now for non-trivial solutions, so this has to be the determinant of this matrix have to be 0 kind of a thing. Okay. So now so if we use this notation, say if you denote this Euler's buckling load, that is a pi square EI by L square as a PE kind of a thing. So it becomes easy. So now this is a cubic equation you get for P. Okay, so P is here, so P is here. So cubic equation say. So you will get you see 3 roots kind of a thing. So now the first buckling load say. So if you write in terms of a PCR 1 by you see, PE. So this becomes 1 plus so 3 KL by pi square PE. So we are just non-dimensionalizing with respect to PE, that's a Euler buckling load for simply supported column actual. Now the second buckling load say, so PCR2 that is by PE. So this turns out to be 4 plus 3 times KL by 4 pi square PE. So this is the second buckling load. Okay, and the third one say, so PCR3. So if you non-dimensionalize with respect to Euler's load, so this turns out to be you see 9 actually. Okay, or where PCR3 say is nothing but 9 pi square EI by L square actually. Okay, or if you write in terms of Euler buckling non-dimensionalization say, it turns out to be 9h. So these are the 3 buckling loads. And now you tell me it buckles in which mode now? So the first mode, second mode, these are the buckling loads. It buckles in which mode now? Now if you see these 3 equations, what is the guiding factor here? Which controls your buckling mode?
Okay.
Now that is this expression, you remember KL. So this is the one which controls your buckling mode shape actual. Okay, so you can even plot what is the transition say, so transition from you solved right first mode to second mode actually. So you can easily find out what is the value of KL actually. Okay, so which makes your column to buckle in second mode rather than in the first mode. So how to find out this one, and similarly the transition from second mode to third mode also. You followed right. So you can find out your foundation stiffness is there. Okay, so which will make the column to buckle in first mode or second mode or third mode actual. So now to find out this one, so you just equate this with respect to this, you can get the numbers actual. So if you solve 1 plus 3 by pi square KL by you see PE kind of a thing is same as 4 plus 3 by you see 4 pi square KL by PE. So if you solve this one for KL say, so this KL turns out to be 13.16 times PE actually. Okay, so which means if the foundation stiffness, if it is less than 13.16 times PE say, the beam column will buckle in first mode actually. Now suppose if your KL, that is your foundation stiffness, if it is more than 13.16 times PE, then your beam column will buckle, you followed it, in second mode kind of a thing. So that is the meaning of this expression. Now similarly, so the transition from second mode to third mode, so it is so you have to equate 4 plus 3 by 4 pi square KL by PSA is same as 9. Okay, that is for this one. So which means your KL say is 65.8 times you follow right PE kind of a thing. So these are like this is the mode the transition kind of a thing. Okay. So this is your mode transitions. So this is from first to second mode, and this is from this second mode to third mode kind of a thing. Okay, and if you draw the diagrams, load versus deflection diagrams, or load versus so this is your critical load actual. You followed. So critical load versus your foundation stiffness KL by PE kind of a thing. So what type of a shape you get? See now you see this expression. So if you plot your PCR actually, if you plot PCR versus KL by PE, you followed right. So this type of a graph if you try to plot. So now how it comes now. So now you have to mark those.
Straight lines.
It is a straight line, but how many straight lines are there? This is a straight line, perfect. But here you have a catch here. That is when KL is more than 13.16 times P is so the slope of the straight line will change actually. See, the slope of the first straight line will be something 3 by pi square kind of a thing. Then other slope will be 3 by 4 times pi square kind of a thing. And then what is the slope of the third line? Nah, there is no slope you followed, right? It is a constant like a 9 kind of a thing you have got. So now if you try to plot say, so now you have to be very careful. So this is your first straight line actual. Okay. Then you have second mode, straight line kind of a thing. Then it becomes is a constant kind of a thing. So these are your the slope changes. That means your column is going to buckle from first mode to second mode. So this value is 13.6 kind of a thing. And this is 65 point some what is 65.8 kind of a thing you followed, and this value anyway is your 9 actual. So this is how it breaks. So if your foundation stiffness, if it is here, so this is the first mode. Okay, this is your second mode, and this is your third mode kind of a thing. So what happens when your column has 13.16 to 65.8 say, your first mode thing will be much higher actually if we express. So which means your the column to buckle, the second mode load is very low, so automatically you followed it buckles in second mode itself. So this is a very important the observation. So when beam on elastic foundation say, okay, so there is a chance that the column can buckle in second mode or even in your third mode depending on your spring constant. Okay, so this is a very important, you see, the concept. So now I know there. So in the energy method say, it is very easy, straightforward, is it, to calculate this critical loads. Okay, so is it clear?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so okay. So you can see, as I told you, right, the best example for this is our Indian plate. Long back also we have said, so our Indian plate also, if you take a section, say, from Delhi to, far from Srinagar to, our, this is Trivandrum or something, we have told, right, everywhere you have hill stations in India actually. Okay, so like you have Kodaikanal or something this way, then you have Palaghat or something is there, right? There also one, then Ooty we have, then it goes down. Now in Madhya Pradesh, there is, I think, some hill station is there, I forgot, some near Itarsi, some hill stations are there. Then once again, you see a depression kind of a thing. It goes down. Once again, it goes up actually. So our Indian plates, in a geology, say, okay, so they have buckled not in the first mode. It has buckled, this wavy type of a structure, say, that comes basically, your foundation stiffness. So if the foundation stiffness, this is the main culprit, it decides, okay, in which mode your column or your beam column say, is going to buckle actually. Okay, this is a very important problem in for pipelines and many cases. But of course, now this problem is not only just a pipeline kind of a thing. So you can just imagine this is a column say where you have multiple supports kind of a thing. Okay, so you can try this. Now similarly, so you can try several problems. See, like for example, I have a cantilever. Okay, so already the buckling load for this problem. Now we said the distributed load also. Let us say this cantilever is like this. Now what is the buckling load you followed, right? So you can calculate, right? Easily you can calculate from the energy method. So only thing is you have to add one more extra, that half k into y square kind of a thing, and then you have to solve the problem actually. Now, okay, so this way you can solve variety you followed it interesting problems by this energy methods. And now we will go to the other methods. Now energy method is there. Now we will go to this numerical methods also. This also one should know how to solve these buckling loads by numerical methods. Okay, so the in the numerical methods, of course, energy method we have seen that itself, it starts all these numerical methods. So we will discuss the finite difference method is straightforward actually. Okay, finite difference method, matrix or anyway FEM actual. Okay, so let us see this also. Okay, so let us say finite difference method. It's a straightforward actual and very easy for buckling problems. Okay, so now what do you do in finite difference method? So just a straightforward buckling column, is very easy to solve it on a computer. Now, so what do we do in finite difference? So all of you know, right, the finite differences. Now what do you do in these methods?
Represent the derivative in terms of
Derivatives, what do you do? So you replace equation of equilibrium by,
finite differences.
so the finite difference, you convert a differential equation to difference equations, okay? Okay, just algebraic equation you derive actually. It's very straightforward. See, what happened was, in the olden days, say that is 30 to 30 years back or something. Generally, people, this finite difference method was very popular. Okay, but then what happened was this finite element came, and then this commercial softwares followed it. They started this finite element. So now, people are not using this finite difference, and many are going towards a finite element, not due to the mathematics or something, because the softwares have made this APM very popular actually. Okay, but finite difference has many the advantages compared to this APM itself. So now in finite difference, what do you do? So the starting point in finite difference method is just Taylor series. Okay, so this you should know, that is f of x plus h. All of you know this thing. So f of x plus h into, you see, f dash x plus h square by 2 factorial, so f double dash x, like that. Say you write all this Taylor series kind of a thing. So now based on the Taylor series you find out all the derivatives actual. So if we have a df by dx, say, okay, so we write this expression as, you see, f of x plus delta x minus f of x by, you see, delta x kind of a thing. So what to do is we approximate actually. So your df by dx, okay, so at x is equal to I, say, okay, so now what would, so we denote this as a delta, you see, fi kind of a thing. So this meaning is f of I plus h minus actually f of I by h kind of a thing. So these we approximate all these derivatives actually. So here there are three derivatives are that most of you will be knowing. One is a forward difference. Okay, so there is a forward difference, then there is what we call as a backward difference kind of a thing, then we have, you see, the central difference actually. So which is the best? No. So which is the best one? So this is your forward difference actually. In backward difference, how do you write? You don't use the future point, we use the past actually. Fi minus h by, you see, h kind of a thing. Now in the central differences, say, okay, so we write our derivative as f of say I plus h minus f of is I minus h by using 2 times h actual. So all these things comes from Taylor series itself. Okay, so even if you can write not only in terms of I plus h, I minus h, you can also use the previous points also, that is I plus 2h, I minus 2h also, you can derive actually. Okay, all the central differences, but the most one, the one which is widely used to difference central difference, because error is order of some h square kind of a thing, we do the central difference approaches only. Okay, so now this is for the first derivative. Now for the second derivative, say del square, you see, fi kind of a thing. So this also is very straightforward kind of a thing. So you remember, right? These formulas are there. So we write, you see, delta f I plus h by 2 minus f of I minus h by 2 by, you see, 2h kind of a thing you have here. Sorry. No, so now the formulas are there, okay, for this one. So this you can write as, you see, f of I plus h, okay, minus 2 times fi plus f of I minus h by, you see, h square. So these are all the expressions, you see, we use it in central difference. Okay, now the third derivative, say, all comes from Taylor series. Nothing, if you know Taylor series, you can derive your own the expressions. Now this is f of I plus 2h minus 2 times, say, f of I plus h plus 2 times f I minus h minus f of, say, I minus 2h by, you see, h cube kind by 2h cube. So these are third derivative. Okay, now similarly, so the fourth derivative also, because we, our order is the fourth order ODEs we are dealing here. So this becomes is f of I plus 2h kind of a thing minus 4 f of I plus h plus is 6 times f of I minus 4 times f I minus h plus f of is I minus 2h by, you see, h to the power 4 actual. So like this you can solve for 5th order, 6th order, but all the derivations you can derive yourself from basic thing is the Taylor series itself actual. Okay, so now using the central difference we can derive all these orders. But anyway, for buckling problem, our ordinary differential equations, the order will not go more than 4 actual, only except in the case of arches. We will discuss at a later stage. For arches, the buckling equation, if you write, it goes to 6th order, or you see sometimes I think some as far as I remember, some 7th order and 8th order equation also we used to get actually for this arches. But for Cartesian coordinates, when you're doing these columns or rectangles or something like that, the order of the ODE cannot be more than 4 itself. So up to 4th order it is sufficient actually. So now so now what have the main advantage in finite difference is so whatever ODE you have, say, you replace with these type of difference equations. So now when you write in terms of this difference equation, so you will get some algebraic equations. You solve these algebraic equations, you get your answers actually. See, like for example, for a simply supported column, say. Okay, so just for a simply supported column. Now we all know the equation of equilibrium. So y double dash plus p by ei into y is equal to 0. And of course y at 0, y at L, say, is equal to 0. So this is our ordinary differential equation. Okay, so now in finite difference, say. So now what to do is we approximate this y double dash actually. Okay, so del square yi. So we write this as yi plus h minus 2 times yi plus yi minus h by using 2 times h square actually. So this is our difference equation. So now you substitute in this expression, say. Okay, so you have y of I plus h minus 2 times yi plus y of I minus h plus ph square, say, by ei into yi is equal to 0. So this is our finite difference equation actually for this buckling problem. Okay, so now there is no derivative here. So you are just having some algebraic equation kind of a thing, and it is you followed it. You have to have this y. It's just a difference equation. You followed. So these advantage of the finite difference approaches actual. And now only thing is what you have to decide is your h actual. How many? So this column, say, how many points are required? How many discretization, or how not discretization? How many grid points generally? So the column can be divided into several grid points. So how many grid points, this has to be decided actually. Okay, so like for example, if you approximate the column with the 2 points, say, so what does it mean? So your column is like this. So this is your buckling mode shape for your this one. So now you approximate this by 2 columns. So this is your I is equal to 0. So I is equal to 1. So I is equal to 2 actual. So you have done into 2 pieces. So L by 2, L by 2. Okay, so you have taken the grid points here, here, here actually. So 2 grid points you have taken. So that means n is equal to 2. So now when you write this expression, so you have y0 here, then y1 here, then y2 actual. Now for this problem, say, already the solution is y0 and y2, because they are at the supports, it is equal to 0 actual. Okay, so now if you write this equation, so y2 is I plus h, because you have taken only this one, so minus 2 times y1 plus y0 plus p square, sorry, pl square by 4 times a, because your h is l by 2 kind of a thing. So y1 is equal to 0, because now the number of points are very small. So y0 and y2 has to be obviously 0. So you have only in terms of y1. So pl square by 4ei minus 2 is equal to 0. So now since y1 cannot be 0, so for a non-trivial solution, say, your PCR actual. So this portion has to be equal to 0. So this becomes 8 ei by L square actual. So this is your buckling load actual. Now what is the exact answer for a simply supported column? Now pi square ei by L square kind of a thing. So that means it's a 9.87 ei by L square. So the error is 18% actually followed. So with just one approximation, say, we are getting the 18%. So if you want to decrease this error, what you have to do? You have to discretize your column into several grid points. Now we have just taken as 2, Now you can take 3, then 4 or 5 or something, then your error automatically, you see, goes towards 0 itself. Okay, so I will stop my discussion here. So we will continue our discussion in the next class. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything, you can ask me. Let's stop recording.